Hard to capture, extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifesting. The gods work like appliances, dealing in my sacred life.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, in particular the manga. And if you're an anime only fan, this is the time of the month where I am going to be talking about, in particular, manga spoilers very heavily. So I thank you for your support. And if you're still here, I'm assuming that you're caught up with the manga and you've got your own ideas about what the future of Boruto is going to hold. So with that being said, if you're still here, I'm assuming you're okay with spoilers. So one of the things I've seen a lot of people talk about is the fact that, oh man, you know, Ishiki's gonna have to come to Konoha. I absolutely agree with that. But one thing I've not seen is, on one hand, you've had a lot of people come up with the hypothetical battles that Ishiki's gonna go back and forth with. I've certainly done those videos. However, I think that the main character we really need to be paying attention to is gonna be Code, because right now Code is essentially guarding the Ten Tails, and yet at the same time, but when you look at Ishiki's in the same position that Obito was in when the Akatsuki were basically having their numbers dwindled down to the point where he had to take the members of Team Taka in, and Team Taka were an extension of the Akatsuki because of their alliance. And so I definitely think that now that Ishiki has essentially been reborn and he's in his own body, I don't think that there's a scenario where essentially Code has to stand guard over the Ten Tails anymore. And this leads me to what I think is going to be the actual fight that's going to take place, which is Kakashi Hatake versus Code. And when you really think about it, that makes a lot of sense for this to be the actual fight that we actually see, because if you go back to what Ikimoto said about a year and a half ago, one of the things Ikimoto had brought up was the fact that Kakashi was a very popular character. We've seen him in the anime, but we haven't seen him in the manga, and Ikimoto promised that we will see Kakashi and that Kakashi's going to have a pretty significant role in the Boruto manga at some point. And the thing about that is that I definitely think that there is something to that, and I could think of no better way than to have Kakashi step in while everybody's dealing with Ishiki, and Ishiki's essentially acting as the diversion. You're gonna have a scenario where somebody like Code is gonna make their way to try and get Kawaki, and if that's the case, I could definitely see Kakashi being the one left to essentially stand guard over Kawaki, because Naruto would have to go deal with Ishiki. Sasuke would have to go with Naruto because they struggle at the same time. This version of Kakashi now, you can make a very strong argument, especially if you've read the Kakashi Retsuden novel, which I cannot wait to dive into that next month. That's going to be really huge because there's a lot going on in that novel, but there are clear signs in that novel that Kakashi is much stronger than he was in the war arc. I would go as far as to say that because he doesn't have his Sharingan, like I talked about in the true power of Hokage Kakashi, because he doesn't have his Sharingan constantly eating away at his stamina and his chakra, that automatically he was more powerful than he was in anything we saw in Shippuden. But Kakashi's gotten more powerful since then, and I think that when it comes to a member of the inners like this gives us a real benchmark to be able to see where these inners go, because Code is somebody who, when you look at what was said, Boro thought that he and Code were enough to kill Naruto and Sasuke. They're literally just drawing names saying, Delta, you got your ass whooped, but you know, that was Code and myself, that wouldn't have happened. And I think that there could be a good opportunity, because Delta was fighting against that suppressed Naruto who was in his chakra mode, but Naruto was still suppressed. This brings us to Kakashi. Now Kakashi is clearly one of the most powerful ninja in that village, and if Kakashi's having trouble with a character like Code, and if I am right that the members of Kara, on top of having the scientific ninja weapons tools augment their bodies, but also being able to use Hashirama cells, if Kakashi struggles in that fight or Code's able to fight him to a standstill, then that's one of those things where now we at least know the next generation has to, at the bare minimum, surpass Kakashi to get to this point. And I also think that from a symbolic standpoint, that could be something interesting, because the fact of the matter is that Ishiki trusted Code to watch over the Ten Tails. Now, the reason why that's so interesting to me and why I draw parallels to Kakashi, which made me think about this, is the third Hokage trusted Kakashi to watch over the Nine Tails, which is basically sealed inside of Naruto, just in the same way that Ishiki trusted Code to watch over the Ten Tails. Let's go a step further. Code has part of his body where it's covering up his eye, much in the same way that Kakashi for a very long time wore his headband to where it was covering up his eye. Then let's take things a step further. Kakashi once had a space-time ninjutsu. Code, we have no way of knowing if Ishiki teleported Code to that dimension where the Ten Tails is, but the fact of the matter is, if somebody is there, if somebody breaches that area, Code at some point, if he fights somebody more powerful than him, he has to have some kind of way to alert Ishiki. I definitely think that Code might have a space-time ninjutsu, so if that's something that works, I can think of no better person to fight against Code than Kakashi, because you got to look at it from this perspective. Kakashi, when it comes to space-time ninjutsu, take Kamui out of the picture. Kakashi is somebody that's familiar with it, because Kakashi was a student of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Minato spammed the Flying Thunder God, and when you look at the Ninja Escapade OVAs that Masashi Kishimoto was executive producer of and helped out with the story for those OVAs, in one of those OVAs, when you saw Minato fighting against the members of Team Minato, so Minato fighting against Kakashi, Rin, and Obito, Kakashi did very well against Minato, even though Minato was suppressed and Minato was using the Flying Thunder God. Kakashi did very well fighting against him. In the end, Minato, once he got serious, was basically able to tag Kakashi, and Kakashi had to give up. But the fact of the matter is that Kakashi did better than some grown adults did against Minato. So I could see a scenario where even if Code has space-time ninjutsu, because of how much more powerful Kakashi has gotten, I could see a scenario where Kakashi, between his own intellect and his own brilliance, is able to keep up with Code. I think that this could be a really, really big fight. I definitely think that because we've gone through several months now, probably about 3 months, which for a monthly manga is a very long time, because essentially that's 3/4 of the entire manga volume, because the volume is only 4 chapters. Essentially, we've gone through 3 months, potentially 4 months of just straight dialogue with a little action mixed in here or there. That leads me to believe that these next few volumes, at least the next 2, are going to be very action heavy. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If Code and Kakashi were to fight, do you think that this would be symbolically a good fight, or do you think that this is the worst way to use Kakashi, because there's the potential that Kakashi gets served up as a jobber in order to make Code look better? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Are you okay with Kakashi potentially putting Code over? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.